Hey everyone, Chloe is here to share with you the different curriculum evaluation models. But before we proceed in enumerating and discussing the actual models, why do we even need to learn about it in the first place? So we have learned how to develop a curriculum, but how would we know if it works? That's where curriculum evaluation comes in. This would actually enable us to measure the success of the curriculum implementation and check if the desired goals and desired outcomes are met. Now that we have established that, let's dive further onto the topic of the different types of evaluation models. There are 5 commonly used CEMs, namely Tyler's Objective-Centered Model, Provost's Discrepancy Model, Stufflebeam's Context Input Process Product or the CIPP Model, Scriven's Goal-Free Model, and Stick's Responsive Model. First, let's talk about Tyler's Objective-Centered Model. This model focuses on the outcome of the curriculum more than the process. Its main goal is to measure whether the learners have learned or achieved set goals. It works by following 4 stages: setting the objectives, determining the learning experiences to be provided, organization, and determining method of measurement of the objective achievement. Tyler's model can mostly be used to evaluate new curriculum, those that have not been implemented yet. Second model is Provost's Discrepancy Model. This model is highly similar to the first, but the difference is that it is more focused on improvements. It determines if the objectives comply with the standards by collecting proofs. It's a self-evaluative framework, therefore can be used to improve curriculums if it still fits the time and age. To use Provost's model, one must establish objectives, collect compliance evidences, identify discrepancies, and identify the corrective actions. For the third model, there is Stufflebeam's Context Input Process Product or the CIPP model. This model's main purpose is to enable and guide comprehensive, systematic assessment of the efforts that occur in the dynamic, numerous conditions of the real world. It focuses on decision-oriented evaluation. This model can mostly be used to evaluate if the outcome and the objectives do have an impact in real-world situations. It comprises of 4 main stages that dives further deeper onto different aspects that has to be checked and considered. The 4 stages include context evaluation, input evaluation, process evaluation, and product evaluation. Proceeding with the 4th model, I introduce to you Scriven's Goal-Free Model. This model is conducted intendedly without the knowledge of predetermined objectives. This is to create a more unbiased evaluation and to report any unanticipated events, which may be missed out on goal-based evaluations. Such effects may or may not provide important supplementary information. It is mostly used when the evaluation calls for missed opportunities, as it evaluates all possible reasons and situations involved in the educational process. This model provides an in-depth view but can only be done with an expert and a professional who's knowledgeable in the field. Lastly, there is Stick's Responsive Model. This model works by emphasizing on the concerns of the primary stakeholder and other people involved, which is gathered through discussions. There are 3 sets of data involved in Stick's model. First is the antecedent, which comprises of present data which occurs before the learning and teaching process begins, including the objectives, the teacher's learning experience, the student's prior knowledge, and the like. The next set of data is the transactions. This is mainly the process and includes the data of how the learning would be transferred to the student. Lastly is the outcome. This involves the matching of objectives to the actual outcomes. Now, this model evaluates both observed and intended sides of the data by finding the compatibility and the uncertain possibilities in between. Since this model involves a lot of process, it may be considered tedious but will still bring positive evaluation results. So, can these models be used together? The answer to that is yes. As these models have different focuses in evaluating the curriculum, it is possible. Always determine first what aspect of the curriculum you would like to focus on your evaluation before proceeding with the act. Again, this is Chloe giving you the infos about curriculum evaluation models.
Now let's talk about assessment in curriculum. Now, what is assessment? In education, the term assessment refers to the wide variety of methods or tools educators use to evaluate, measure, and document the academic readiness, learning progress, skill acquisition, or educational needs of students. Assessment increases the quality of learning. It is also the systematic process of documenting using empirical data to measure knowledge, skills, attitudes, and beliefs. By taking the assessment, teachers try to improve the student's path towards learning. Evaluation. Good said that the evaluation is the process of ascertaining or judging the value or amount of something by using a formal appraisal, which includes judgment in the terms of internal evidence and external criteria. Evaluation focuses on grades. It might reflect classroom components under the course content and mastery level. An evaluation can be used as a final review to gauge the quality of instruction. Is product-oriented. This means that the main question is what's been learned. In short, evaluation is judgmental. There are 5 uses of assessment to support the curriculum. First is the purpose of assessment. The purpose of assessment is divided across 2 vectors: summative and formative assessment. Beginning, summative assessment is essentially a process to determine what students have learned of a specific set of knowledge and skills at the end of an instructional period. In contrast, formative assessment typically refers to methods to which perceive which aspects of a specific body of content a student or group of students is and is not mastered to take deliberate action to remedy any gaps. It is designed to indicate to a teacher and their student what aspects require further effort, whether for the whole class or selected students. Level of assessment. The level of assessment refers to the locus of the management process, the data it produces, the coverage of the content tested, and its proximity to the official curriculum. The management of assessment resides at 3 basic levels. The first level is regional and national. The second is the system-wide or institutional. And the third is the classroom or individual. The first level is an examination of all students who wishes to be officially certified to receive a formal credential, take at the end of a cycle. The second level sits above these system-wide assessments. These are regional and international surveys or tests of knowledge and skills. The third level, the design of such assessments, can involve teachers alone. Still, it may also engage teachers in creating instruments to assess a familiar subject or learning elements that differ across subjects within a curriculum. Teachers may also find the assessment's material, individual test items, instruments, and broader protocols. In most settings, teacher-driven assessment at this level, but many systems also promotes vital self-assessment and peer assessment. Substantive scope of assessment. The substantive scope of assessment pertains to what knowledge and skills a particular instrument or approach measures. Scope concerns equally the domains of content a student is expected to have acquired and retained, the manner in which the student is asked to demonstrate what they have learned. Examinations, to the contrary, will reach across the curriculum to assess all subjects, or at least the academic ones, in those that can be measured using paper and pencil method. Classroom level assessment will also reach across the entire curriculum, covering all topics and permit appraisal and feedback with greater depth, precision, and timeliness. There is also diversity in the ways assessments require students to exhibit what they have learned. Nature of assessment. The nature of assessment relates closely to what is being assessed, the intended result, and who is doing the evaluation. Classic evaluation for accountability, certification, selection, or other summative reasons requires that all students answer the same range of questions in writing to situate them objectively vis-a-vis a common set of standards or concrete learning objectives. If conducted as large-scale learning surveys, assessment commonly favor multiple choice and true or false question, which students answer by filling in bubble sheets. The last one is impact of assessment. The significant impacts of assessment fall across 3 broad domains of decision. 1 concerns policy, program, and planning, for which the education system is responsible. At this level, assessment results might trigger reactions from range system fixes or more substantial adjustments or reform. The second domain concerns decision about all individual students. The result of this assessment will generally determine the educational path a student will follow, including such aspects as the level of study he or she will attain, the areas of study he or she may pursue if able to continue to a level of specialization, whether this will be in academic or some training institution, the admirable quality of the institution in which he or she continues their education or training, and other aspects. The third domain in the classroom, providing information that teachers and other educators might use to adjust and strengthen their design, delivery, assessment, and feedback of lesson, and that students may use to revise and invigorate their learning strategies, conditions, and outcomes, or perhaps abandon school and pursue another kind of education. Assessment results and the curriculum. The curriculum assessment results are important input in the continuous improvement of the curriculum, be it a national or regional assessment, system-wide assessment, and classroom assessment. The data produced in the conduct of curriculum assessment should be used by all stakeholders of curriculum to ensure relevant, responsive, and sustainable programs. Here are some suggestions on how curriculum assessments results are used at the different levels of assessments. To use the result of curriculum assessment, you need to consider the following. What are the standards to meet? What are desired outcomes or the expected results? What needs to be addressed concerning the results? National or regional assessment results. Assessment results conducted at the national and regional levels, such as National Achievement Test, National Certification, and the Professional Licensure Examination (IQUAME) of SCHED, National Inspectorate Audit of TESTA, etc., are very useful in the quality assuring the graduates and the curriculum delivery. They should provide data as basis in answering these following questions. Did we meet the standards? Are we at par with the level of performance specified in the standard? How did we perform in comparison with other institutions? How can we further improve our performance? Or did the students achieve the desired outcome of the program? System-wide assessment. Results or school assessment such as teacher evaluation, course evaluation, and the application of the 360 degrees evaluation model in the school give the perception of the internal and external client of the institution. This should help us answer the questions. Are we meeting the expectation of our cliente, the students, the parents, the teachers, the school, the administration, and the community? Are we delivering what we promised? Are there areas where performance can still be improved to a higher level? Are there areas where students excel? How can this be duplicated in other areas? And what are identified strengths and weaknesses? Classroom assessment. Results obtained from the formative and summative assessment conducted by the teachers provide data which are useful in answering the following questions. What do the data say about the student's mastery of learning outcomes? Are there indications in student performance that leads to weakness in any particular content, area, skills, and attitude? Are there areas where performance can still be improved to a higher level? Are there areas where students excel? Can this be duplicated in other areas? Are there areas where students are consistently weak? What adjustments in the program design can you do to improve students' performance?
Now we'll be tackling curriculum evaluation. The objectives of curriculum evaluation. Number 1 is to determine the outcomes of the program. Number 2 is to decide whether to retain, revise, or reject a program. Number 3, ascertain the need for revision of course content. Number 4, help in future development of the curricular material and continuous improvement. And number 5, improve methods of delivery teaching and instructional techniques. Curriculum evaluation is defined as the process of systematic collection and interpretation of evidence, which proves the merit and worth of a program, leading to the realistic and pragmatic decision anchored on facts and figures. Evaluation of curriculum development process. A curriculum has to be evaluated at different phases. It can undergo formative evaluation or evaluation conducted to check on the progress of the development and implementation with the intentions of devising strategies for adjustments to ensure success in meeting the desired outcomes. Here are the list of evaluation methodology to use for each phases. Planning phase. Identify the need. The objective is to identify the problem and address the need. Form the team. The objective is to select team members with the required skill set. Draft timelines. With the objective to draft realistic timeline and deliverables. The evaluation method is document review, and the source of data is the curriculum development team. Next is the designing phase. Describe the profile of the target learners with the objective to match ID with the profile of the learner. Next is identify desired outcomes with the objective to analyze content. Next is to prepare assessment plan with the objective to check logical flow of instruction. Next is to select content, scope, and sequence with the objective to check appropriateness of the learning materials and the learning experience. Last, design the learning experience and the learning materials with the objective to match desired outcomes with the assessment plan. The evaluation method of the designing phase is document review and expert review. And the source of data for the evaluation phase is the curriculum development team. The implementation phase. Produce the learning materials with the objectives to evaluate quality of the learning material and to check logical flow of instruction. Next is to use the learning material and the learning experience in the delivery of the program. The objectives are to check the appropriateness of the learning materials and the learning experience. Last is to assess learners' achievement of the desired outcomes, with the objective to check levels of achievements, check on achievement of the desired learning outcomes, and take note of identified strengths and weaknesses. Evaluation method of the implementation phase. Observation, demonstration, surveys, written and oral questioning, portfolio, review of assessment results, focus group discussion, and interview. The source of data of the implementation phase. Curriculum development team, faculty in charge of delivering the course, and the students who took the course. The last phase is the evaluation phase. Design evaluation strategies with the objective to check validity and reliability of evaluation measures. Next is assess effectiveness of learning experience and learning materials in achieving the desired outcomes with the objective to check effectiveness and acceptability of the program. Last, use results of the evaluation in adjusting the curriculum with the objectives to evaluate the impact of the program and to check for provision for monitoring and formative evaluation. The evaluation method of the evaluation phase. Surveys, document review, portfolio, and review of minutes of meetings and assessment results. The source of data of the evaluation phase. Curriculum development team, faculty in charge of delivering the course, and the students who took the course.
Criteria and tools in assessment in the curriculum. Curriculum assessment. It is the process of collecting information needed for evaluation. Curriculum assessment may achieve the following purposes. First, highlight curriculum expectations. Second, gather information about what students know and can do. Third, motivate students to learn better. Fourth, motivate and encourage teachers to meet the identified needs of students. Fifth, provide evidence to tell how well the students have learned. And last, obtain feedback that helps teachers, students, and parents make good decisions to guide instructions. Program assessment. It focuses on assessing student learning and experience to determine whether students have acquired the skills, knowledge, and competencies associated with their program of study. Here we have 5 program assessment purposes. First is the opinion gathering. In opinion gathering, we can use surveys, focus groups, interviews, and department meetings. Second purpose is the testing. Testing can be done in written, through demonstrations, pre and post, or control groups. The third program assessment purpose is the content analysis. The methods used in content analysis are the student and faculty journals, concept mapping, and the completed assignments or exams. Expert advice. The methods to use in expert advice are tours, external reviews, or from expert speakers. The last program assessment purpose is the archival data. It can be done through course outlines, course evaluations, student grades, and past curricular reports. Classroom assessment. It is the process of gathering evidence of what a learner knows, what the learner understands, and what the learner is able to do. It is aimed at helping students perform well in relation to the learning standards. Content standards identify the set of essential knowledge and understanding that should be learned. Performance standards describes the abilities and skills that learners are expected to demonstrate in relation to the content standards and integration of 21st century skills. While learning competencies refer to the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes that learners need to demonstrate in every lesson and or learning activity. There are 2 types of classroom assessment. First is the formative assessment. It is an ongoing process to provide learners with immediate feedback on how well they are learning. Results of this assessment are documented but not included in computing grades. The second type of classroom assessment is the summative assessment. It is used to measure whether learners have met the content and performance standards. The results of these assessments are used as basis for computing grades. Assessment results and curriculum. Curriculum assessment results are important input in the continuous improvement of the curriculum. The data produced in the conduct of curriculum assessment should be used by all stakeholders to ensure relevant, responsive, and sustainable programs. National Regional Assessment Results. These are assessment results conducted at the national and regional levels such as National Achievement Test, National Certification, Professional Licensure Examination, Institutional Quality Assurance Monitoring and Evaluation, and National Inspectorate Audit of TESDA. This is to ensure the quality of the graduates and the curriculum delivery. System-wide assessment results or school assessment. It gives the perception of the internal and external clients of the institution. It can be gathered from the assessment results from teacher evaluations, course evaluations, and application of the 360 degrees evaluation mode.
This time we're down to our last topic, which is intended, implemented, and achieved curriculum. At the end of this discussion, we will able to compare and contrast the 3 types of curriculum. But before of that, what is the purpose of curriculum assessment? The purpose of curriculum assessment is to highlight curriculum expectations, to gather information about what students know and can do, can motivate students to learn better, can motivate and encourage teachers to meet the identified needs of students, can provide evidence to tell how well the student have learned, and to obtain feedback that helps teachers, students, and parents make good decisions to guide instruction. First is intended curriculum. It is to refers to the planned objectives, goals, and purposes set at the beginning. Means a set of objectives that start of a curricular plan. It is establish the goal, the specific purposes, and the immediate objectives to be accomplished. It also answers what curriculum maker wants to do. And there are certain indicators to measure the intended curriculum. It answers this question. Are the objectives achievable within the learner's developmental levels? Can the objectives be accomplished within the time frame? Are the resources adequate to accomplish the objectives? Are the objectives specific and clear? Are there ways of measuring the outcomes of the objectives? Are the objectives observable, doable, and relevant? And overall, are the objectives specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound? Next is implemented curriculum. It refers to the various activities conducted to the purposes of accomplishing the objectives of various learning activities of the students in order to achieve intended curricular outcomes. It refers to the actual activities being practiced in schools. These activities may coincide with the specific objectives of the curriculum or may largely be out of agenda. There are also certain indicators to measure the implemented curriculum. These are the following questions. Are the learning activities congruent with the started objectives? Are the materials and methods appropriate for the objective set? Does the teacher have the skills to implement the activities or use the strategy? Does the teacher utilize the various ways on doing the complement of learning style of the students? Are there alternative activities for the learners to accomplish same objectives? Are there activities provided to address individual differences? Do the activities provide maximum learning experiences? Do the activities motivate the learners to do more and harness their potentials? Do the activities utilize multiple sensory abilities of the learners? And lastly, do the activities address multiple intelligences of the learners? And lastly, achieve curriculum. It is the learning outcomes as measured by learning performance. As mentioned, achieve curriculum refers to the curriculum outcomes based on the first two types of curriculum, the intended and implemented curriculum. It is now considered the product. Same with the two types of curriculum, there are certain indicators to measure the achieved curriculum. These are the following questions. First, do the learning outcomes achieved by the learners approximate the level of the performance set at the beginning of the curriculum? Next, are the learning outcomes achieved higher or lower than objective set? Do the achieved learning outcomes reflect the knowledge, skills, and attitudes intended to be developed? Next, how many percent of the learners from the same class perform higher than the level set at the beginning? And lastly, do the curricular outcomes reflect the goals and aspiration of the community where curriculum is implemented? Each type of curriculum can be assessed independently and in comparison with the other three types of components. The figures summarize the relations among these three types of curriculum. Each type of curriculum should be linked to one another. Any gap along the line will make the connection weak and lead the obstacle in the accomplishment of the overall purpose of the curriculum. To sum it up, the intended curriculum refers to the planned objectives, goals, and purposes set at the beginning, while the implemented curriculum refers to the various activities conducted for the purposes of accomplishing the objectives. Finally, the achieved curriculum is the learning outcomes as measured by the learning performance. These three types of curriculum should be evaluated in order to find out if they match well with one another to accomplish the desired outputs.